Good evening, everyone. I picked up this plane from a junk store for about $10. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was different enough that I had to have it. Something about how the sole, the cheeks of the sole kind of came up, reminded me of like a bedrock style. And then I also knew like the frog and lever cap was very different. So what we have is a Sargent plane, but I didn't know this until quite a bit later on. And you can see that it is in extremely rough condition. And because it was super cheap, I went ahead and got it. But oh my God, this has tested me. Yeah, it looks like it's been underwater. The handle and the tote are broken, and it is extremely, extremely rusty. So I thought the disassembly on this would be, pretty much like every other plane. But as I got into it, I noticed that, this has this really interesting kind of adjustable handle. I've not seen that. Of course, I'm not even a novice on hand planes. But I thought that was really interesting and never seen that in person, anything like that. So this has already been kind of exciting just in the disassembly. I wasn't sure if this was even going to be savable. And I certainly do not think this is going to be some type of perfect restoration or anything like that. Really, my goal would be to get it to be usable. And I would be happy with that. I did message Hand Tool Rescue about the plane and asked if it was worth fixing up once I found out what type of plane it was. And he encouraged me to go ahead and work on it. He said it's a pretty collectible plane. Obviously, in this condition, it's collectible trash. But yeah, this is a lot of discovery here and trying to figure out how to take this thing apart. Here's where I start to figure out. I thought that logo kind of looked a little bit like the Keen Cutter logo, but I wasn't sure. So once I started scratching on it, I realized that it said Sargent 718 and some other letters with it. Did a quick Google search and found out it was a, pretty interesting plane. And then, of course, messaged HTR. But right now it's just about cleanup. This thing is disgusting, just horribly gross. So before putting it in rust remover and things like that, I wanted to just kind of clean it, try to extend the life of any of the chemicals I use, Vaporust and what have you. So I sprayed it down with degreaser, and then I soaked it in hot soapy water and then scrubbed it, and it just kind of kept repeating that till the water was relatively clean and most of the dirt and crap like that was off. Just rust is totally fine. I can work with just rust. This is a process, and I've been doing this in the background. I have so many projects that are unfinished. I just haven't gone around to it. Shoot, I haven't even done a voiceover in forever just because, life's been nuts. We're about to finish our house and, work. I travel a lot for work, so just dealing with it. But you can see coming out of the Vaporust, as usual, you put something in there and you go like, this is trash. And then as you pull it out of the Vaporust, you go, oh my God, I can actually use this. This is fixable. It's magic. It really is. I don't know how it works, but it works. After a bath, a lot of soaking time. I think I let this soak for like 5 days. I think I was gone somewhere. And then just starting to clean it up and see, look for cracks in the casting, anything like that. And then obviously there's tons of stuck screws and bolts. I've got to figure out, how to get this stuff apart. Tons of learning. And there you see Sargent VBM 718. It's an auto set 718 plane. And I'm trying to remove this front tote cap, I guess you would call it. No, handle cap. Tote is in the back. Somebody will say that I don't know anything about hand planes, and they're going to be right. I get comments like that quite a bit. You're right. I'm a novice. Way to call it out. Anyway, some of the screws started to come out, which was awesome. At this moment, I don't own a torch, so I have this really great heat gun, and I figured, hey, it's the same concept. Maybe it would work. And it actually, it worked out pretty well. I was able to remove a few things just with the heat gun and some force. Ooh, talk about disgusting. Like, who knows how old those shavings are and how long they've been in there. I think about the history of this. I need to figure out when this thing was made, but anyway, all sorts of crap comes out of this thing. It's tremendous. It really is. So here's a trick, I saw on Hand Tool Rescue where you use, hot glue and some vice grips so you don't mess up your thing you're working on. Works pretty good, except that my parts were already a little hot, so it melted a little bit. But overall, this was a pretty good technique. Definitely going to use it more. This video is going to be 2 parts, and this first part is really just disassembly, and the next part is going to be reassembly. And there's a couple of very good reasons for that. But nevertheless, a lot of this stuff came off without really much of a fight. I was actually pretty happy about it. Now, at this time, I don't know this, but this plane is actually broken. That lever cap should have an adjustable tapped screw part. That's kind of hard to describe. That part that's nickel plated, you can kind of see there, it's actually broke off. I didn't know this at the time. I had to figure that out a little bit later on. You can see just how rusty, and these pieces have not been apart for who knows how long, so that rust has really got in there. I've got my work cut out for me to try and make this usable. The goal is to not spend any more money on this, but spoiler, I do. And you can see the iron is brutally bad. I still hope to be able to salvage it. My goal is to use that, use as many original parts as possible. And here's where the trouble begins. This frog assembly, oh man, it's wild. I mean, just how stuck everything is. I don't think there's been a single thing that I have fought this hard. The thing about it is it's cast iron, so my biggest fear is breaking it, because if I break the sole, I mean it's worthless at that point. All this fighting has been for nothing. So it's like, how rough do you go before like there's an edge, right? There's always going to be a spot where you've gone too far, and I just don't know where that's at. It's a lot of nerve-wracking things. Every time I bang on it with a hammer, I'm very concerned I'm going to break it. A lot of the parts, multiple baths and evaporust, and just trying to make some movement on this frog. I mean, this thing it's stuck. A few weeks go by, finally, I was in Tractor Supply. I was like, yeah, I'm buying a torch. I've wanted one for a while. I just haven't got around to buying one. I also got a new fire extinguisher with it. Hey, you got to do what you got to do. My filming here was a little bad because I was kind of frustrated. Things were frustrating, so I missed some of the steps. And basically, once I heat this thing up, the next thing I end up doing is getting back out the impact driver and working those screws loose. So you can see it in the background, the impact driver, and then by the time I get it loose enough, I can just do it by hand, and you just see those fine threads. They're just rusted in there. Here we go. Here's the frog assembly. It's really cool how this thing is made. I mean, very strange, for most common planes, it's just not like this. I can see why it's collectible. It's cool. Everything, just trying to figure out how much of this can I take apart. Most of everything at this point is still going to be usable. I was able to get most of it working. Just it needs TLC. And here we go. Here's the full thing disassembled. A lot of parts, a lot of small parts. But I feel very triumphant about it. Now that everything is fully disassembled, one more total bath in evaporust, because I haven't been able to do it fully disassembled. And then get it out, wire wheel it, start to see, again, did I break anything? What's usable? What's not? Try to just evaluate where I'm at with everything. Get it cleaned up for reassembly. Painting I'll need to do, obviously. Now, this is japanned. It was really bad. I was hoping to save some of it. Not going to be the case. I'm going to end up having to remove it. Yes, I know I'm using a chisel to scrape away japanning. No chisels were harmed in this. These are just bang around Sears chisels. But I wanted to get as much of that off as possible. Still trying to decide what to do. The handle and the tote are supposed to be East Indian mahogany. I bought some mahogany, but it does not match this. Hand Tool Rescue also told me that maybe I could try eucalyptus, because I would like to reuse those handles if possible instead of starting from scratch. Do I do body filler or what? So I was going to do an experiment with some primer filler and got out the old deal of tape. And let me tell you, if this surely isn't, I'm not the only one that this has happened to. I don't have very long fingernails, so trying to get the tape to work and it doesn't work and you're just ripping off little chunks. This was like the perfect way to end this. Like, so frustrated, nothing is going right. What can I do to just move this project forward? And even something simple like doing a little taping couldn't work. It just kept ripping on me. And I'm not a wasteful person, but there's a certain point where it's diminishing returns and you're just wasting your time. Totally frustrated. Thank you all for watching. Part 2 will be coming out sometime soon. I have to order some different types of wood. Take care of yourself and be safe.